Thank you for watching this video on Digit Digger. Digit Digger is a Windows-based application that I developed in anticipation of what I believe to be the biggest marketing opportunity of a lifetime, and that is advertising your product or service through SMS text messaging. 87% of the people in the world today currently own a cell phone. They're using their cell phones to engage in their social media accounts, to watch their videos, to check their email, and a lot of them are texting more than they're even talking on the phone now. Now, the unique thing about SMS text messaging is that 97% of the text messages that every recipient receives is opened by that recipient. So when you compare that to other marketing mediums that are available today, such as social media, Google AdWords, obviously your website design and search engine optimization tactics, and of course email, you just cannot get those kind of results. Email, which is one of the larger ones, I would say, currently only has a 4% open rate, which compared to 97% with text messaging is just unbelievable. So you can see how SMS text messaging is going to be the new marketing medium of the future. People are just going to, there's just going to be this mass exodus to take advantage of SMS text messaging. Now, currently, there are quite a few SMS texting providers out there where you can set up campaigns and run them and so forth, but to create a list as well as send out a texting campaign to that list that you've purchased or created can cost you up to $1 a number, so it can get incredibly expensive. Now, what's unique about Digit Digger is that it's a data mining tool, and it obviously harvests these records and these numbers off the internet, but it allows you some incredible flexibility to harvest numbers from a particular demographic. And that is because Digit Digger targets Craigslist. And so we'll go into a little bit of that here in just a moment. But first, this is just the opening screen of Digit Digger, which is the Digit Digger Instant Launcher. And this just allows you to start multiple campaigns at the same time. You also have a record count button. This currently tells me how many records the database is currently holding from campaigns that I've already run. Currently, you can see that number is 3,655,918 records. These are all records that Digit Digger has mined off of Craigslist. Now, before we move any further forward with the Digit Digger program, let's talk about Craigslist real quick. Craigslist, I'm sure we're all familiar with, and the wonderful thing about Craigslist is that no matter what the service or product is that you are currently advertising, the very demographic that you're trying to advertise to, you will most likely find a category on Craigslist that contains that same demographic. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you sell women's dresses. Now, your target demographic is obviously going to be women. And so if you look on Craigslist, I'm just looking in the for sale categories here, but if you look at arts and crafts, beauty and health, these are categories that contain listings that have been posted or added to Craigslist predominantly by women. Look at babies and kids. Anybody who's selling baby and kids, that would be clothes, cribs, baby monitors, etc. Those are most likely going to be women. You're probably not going to see a lot of men posting ads on Craigslist for those particular categories. Another one that would be good for women is jewelry. Now, if you were looking at men, you might say boats or motorcycles, maybe RVs, and probably very high likelihood tools is predominantly men. So what Digit Digger allows you to do is to find define those categories that contain a matching demographic that you want to sell your service or product to, and Digit Digger goes out and systematically goes through each and every posting or listing on Craigslist for those cities and or categories that you choose, and it harvests the numbers that are contained within those listings. Let's look at cars and trucks, for instance. Digit Digger always looks, when it's going through and harvesting data from Craigslist, it only looks at those listings that were posted by owner. And the reason being is that obviously anything posted by owner, typically if they're going to list a phone number, it's going to be their cell phone because they want you to be able to get a hold of them. Now, if you were looking at listings that are posted by dealer, chances are you're going to be getting a lot of business phone lines, which are actually going to be landlines. So Digit Digger only looks at listings that were posted by owner. If I come into cars and trucks for Portland on Craigslist, and let's just look at this 2003 Subaru Forester, and here you go, you can see that this individual has listed their phone number. Now most of them will list their phone number without fear in this particular format, whether it's with parentheses or dashes in between, or maybe they'll use periods. Very few will actually disguise their number, but I wanted to show you what that looks like when they do. As you can see here, Rachel, who's advertising her 91 Chevy S10 Blazer, has disguised her phone number for fear of somebody using maybe some data mining software such as Digit Digger itself from retrieving that phone number and adding it to the database to advertise to later. A nice thing about Digit Digger is it actually has an algorithm that accounts for the hundreds of different variances that I have found by going through thousands of Craigslist ads and seeing how people are disguising their phone numbers on Craigslist. Some people will use double parentheses for zeros. There's just all sorts of creative things that they do. So Digit Digger, in order to obtain a higher percentage of numbers off Craigslist, has a built-in algorithm to account for a lot of those that have been already disguised. Alright, so now let's jump back to the Digit Digger program. Okay, and we're only going to launch one campaign simply to show how it works. So I'm choosing one from the instance launcher window because I only want to run one campaign. However, if you wanted to run 8 separate campaigns at the same time, you could change that number to 8 and then press start. Alright, so the first thing you do when you create a campaign is you name your campaign with the name that you want. So let's say that I am a local Portland, Oregon business, and I want to run a campaign in Portland, Oregon. So I'm just going to call it Portland, and I sell a product that has a demographic that is primarily women. So I'm going to choose some of those categories that we talked about before that have to pertain with mostly women. So I'm going to hit the Create Campaign button, and that's going to bring up the Craigslist city category link generator, and we're going to build our campaign list. So on the left hand side it gives you all the cities on Craigslist, and on the right hand side it gives you the categories. So I'm going to scroll down until I find Portland, Oregon, and here we are, right here. And then I'm going to come over and I wanted to select, let's say, babies and kids, health and beauty, and I'll just do the 2 for the time being since this is just an example. Now I'm going to go ahead and click Build Campaign Link List, and what it does is for each city and category that you choose, it creates the appropriate links in your campaign window of the Digit Digger program. It also brings you up a text file in case you want to save this particular campaign list for use at another time if you want to run the same campaign and you won't have to rebuild it. This is just an example, so I can close out of that without saving. So now if we look down here towards the bottom, this is the number of search results pages to search for each of your Craigslist cities and categories that you specified above in your campaign window. Now I could choose to harvest all of the listings for each of the chosen cities and categories as deep into Craigslist as I can. I think Craigslist holds on to listings up to 45 days. So you could harvest multiple listings, or you can just do a particular number of pages deep, up to 10 there. Now for this example, I'm just going to do the first page of results for each of these city category links that I've already defined. And these other settings we don't need to worry about at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and now save my campaign. And I'm going to save this campaign just to my desktop, and we're going to call it test. And once you do that, our little digit digger friend disappears from the right hand side of the software and opens up our report settings window. Now from here we can simply left click start, and it will start the campaign that we've already predefined over here in our campaign window, or we can manipulate a few settings depending on whether or not we want notification via email or SMS text messaging when our campaign that we have just defined is finished. You can have the Digit Digger program email you the results that it's found after each one of these links have been harvested, or simply after it's completed the entire campaign. And you can do that for both email notification or SMS notification. For email notification, you simply have to put in your SMTP mail server address, email username, password, so on and so forth. So even if you were doing this for a client, you could set up just basically a generic SMTP mail server, and then choose the to address that you want to send the campaign results to, and enter in a subject, and then when the campaign's finished, it will send those results to that person that you've designated. Once you've set up the SMTP server, you can click test, and that will test to make sure that it's testing all right. And if it does test okay, then you can set up the SMS notification settings. Now currently this box is disabled because you haven't designated a mail server. It actually uses to send text messages, it actually needs to have an SMTP mail server set up. So once you've set up your email notification settings here and tested your email, the SMS notification tab will be enabled. From there, you just choose your wireless provider, enter in your phone number, and then you can test the SMS, and it'll send you a test text message to the number that you defined, and you can verify that it's working properly. So if you're always on the go and you're creating these campaigns in the morning and you want to know when they're finished up, or let's say you're headed out of town and you want to know the results of your campaign as it goes along, you can set up these settings. But we're not going to worry about that for this video demonstration. We're going to come back to the Scrape Report tab, and we're going to click Start, and it will begin to go through each of those cities, Portland for both of those categories. As the campaign goes along, you'll see the last link that was searched displayed right here. You'll see the number of total links searched here, or total listings maybe I should say. This will show you the total results for the campaign, as well as the total results for the current city category link, and that is referring to the current link that is highlighted in your campaign window. So as you can see here, it's starting to go through the individual links that it finds on each of these pages. Some of these are just the links that are towards the top of the page, and then it will get into the actual listings themselves and begin to search the body of the text to see if it can find the appropriate sequence of numbers that would account for a phone number. And here we can see it systematically going through each of the listings. Now remember, it's only going to go through the first page before advancing to the next city category link in our campaign window. Here you can see the last number that was found, and of course the elapsed time that it's taken for the campaign to run. When this is uninhibited from the other software that I'm currently running at the moment, it'll search 2 to 3 ads a second. Right now it's considerably slower. We're only searching one about every second and a half, so it's considerably slower at the moment. But you can see that it's working. So what I'll do right now is I will stop this video and resume it once the campaign is finished. Okay, so this particular campaign that we've set up in Digit Digger for Portland has now finished. And as you can see, the total results it's found for this particular campaign is 96. That's 96 listings that it found out of the 229 links searched that actually contained what it deemed to be phone numbers. At the bottom of the results window, you'll see an actual date time stamp of when the campaign finished, and you will also receive an SMS notification or an email notification, provided you set up the proper notification settings on each of those tabs before the campaign started. So that pretty much concludes the way that Digit Digger works. You can imagine how this data can become quickly unmanageable. So when I designed the program, I had to look at a database solution that would allow myself to query the database for the results that I wanted. Now, the database has several columns. The first column, or the primary ID, is the phone number. And then you also have a column for the city, for the state, for the area code, for the post title, that is the title of the Craigslist ad, the post link, so you can see where you got the number from, as well as the date and time that the information was written to the database for that record. And you'll see how powerful and how important that is in just a moment. So I looked at a couple different databases when designing this solution. MySQL is the one that I really wanted to go with, simply because it was open source, but I wanted greater capacity considering the number of columns and the number of results that I anticipated on storing in the database, which I think would eventually be several million. And so I pretty much settled on SQL Server. Now, unfortunately, SQL Server is not an open source solution. It's Microsoft, so you always have your fees and licensing provided. However, since the launch of Windows Azure services, you can now host virtual machines, virtual SQL servers, websites, etc. in the cloud and pay the use that you use, or the storage used. And so now it becomes very, very inexpensive. Plus, you are leveraging the speed and the data redundancy and the storage that Microsoft can provide without having to pay up front for full licensing, hardware, software, etc. So Microsoft Azure Services is actually a wonderful solution that has been integrated with Digit Digger to effectively manage the data that it harvests. And we're going to look at some of that now. So outside of the Digit Digger program, I am able to log on to a management console from Windows Azure Service portal that allows me to manage my database, as well as use SQL Server Management Studio 2012, which is a free download, and it allows me to query my database. So whenever I want to query a data set from my table that's hosted in the cloud, I can use Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio to do so and then export those results. So to query the database, I'd come up to New Query in SQL Server Management Studio, and then I would enter in my Transact SQL statement, or TSQL statement, in this open window to query the database for the results that I desire. Now, there's not much of a learning curve for TSQL. Most of the statements are very basic and makes a lot of sense after using them a couple times. For this example, I'm going to query the current database I have of over 3.5 million results. And just to show you how powerful that could be, let's say that I've become an affiliate for Apple products, or maybe even just Apple accessories. And so what I want to do is find a targeted demographic of individuals who use Apple products. Now, Apple products are unique in the sense that their following is almost cultic. It's so loyal. Anybody who has had an iPhone will almost always have an iPhone from here on out. They won't move to Android or Windows Phone or anything like that. Same with their computers. If you've owned a MacBook Pro, you'll probably never again be a PC user. That just seems to be the way it goes. They make a superior product, superior architecture, superior customer service, a little more costly up front, but always seems to be the better product in the end. So in this instance, me being an affiliate, hypothetically, I want to find all the users in my database who are Apple users. Now I can find that by querying keywords in the post title of any of the ads that Digit Digger has found a phone number in. So I'm going to go ahead and paste a statement from my clipboard that I've already written. This particular statement right here, this is just a very basic TSQL statement that says select all from this particular table in my database, Digit Digger results, where the post title has a keyword that I've specified here, iPhone, in it. So now I could say find all the results from the database that have iPhone and iPad and MacBook Pro and whatever other Apple product is out there, but I'm just going to use one product for this demonstration. So once I've written the query, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to choose to execute that query against the database. And it's already right in the table. Down here though, it's still executing. It says executing query, and it's timing the amount of time it takes to go through those 3.6 something million results. And if you look here in the post title, which is one of the columns I have in the database, every single one of these results has the keyword iPhone in it. So I know that all of these individuals are Apple product users. And if we wait here just a minute, we'll find, there we go. So it's successfully finished executing that particular query against the SQL database that's hosted in the cloud with Azure services, and it's found 39,100 results. These are targeted results. Every one of these results would have somewhat of a likeness to buy if I was to provide them with an Apple accessory or product that they currently did not have, more so than if I was just blindly advertising or blanketing a broad list. So that's the power that the Digit Digger program provides you with its data mining capabilities and its ability to search out Craigslist. So you can do that with pretty much any service or any product if you constructively thought about it enough. I think you could find the demographic you're looking for on Craigslist, or at least something close to it, and then target your marketing campaign based around that. So with that, thank you for your time, and I appreciate you looking at the Digit Digger program.